How is it going, guys, and welcome to the Olufemi channel. We're a group of teachers that want to shore up your video production skills in as little time as possible.
G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and look, today we're going to look at these anamorphic lenses from Sirui, which completely blew my mind. I kind of bought one and then I ended up buying all three of them. Once I got them in, my goodness, these things are just amazing, and I'm just going to talk about some of the great things about them, some of the not great things about them. So just sit back. This is going to be a bit of a longer one, but we're going to deep dive and see what I think about these lenses. Are they cinematic gold or just another gimmick? And guys, this review is brought to you by the awesome Lyric Video Creator Kit, which is designed to help make lyric videos, but can also be used to add fancy graphics to your otherwise dull video equipment reviews.
Hi there, welcome to this review on generic video equipment.
Hey there, and welcome to this review on video equipment that will change your life. We've even got a 30-minute masterclass to help you get started. Still not convinced? Alright, if you get the kit today, we're going to throw in the Olufemi Creative Pack for free. 3 transition packs, the box lens transition, camera snapping effects pack, and identity transitions pack. Plus all 3 of the light leak packs. That's $119 of stuff that you get for free when you purchase the Lyric Creator Kit today. It's an unlimited license, so you can use it in everything forever. So what are you waiting for? Grab your Lyric Video Creator Kit today and get started. So first off, I'm just assuming not everybody knows what anamorphic is, but you've definitely seen it. If you've watched any movies in the last 200 years, anamorphic has been there. There is a long history behind anamorphic lenses, but basically they shoot images that look like this initially, so that you're able to widen it out to something like this, which is called de-squeezing. And though it might seem like you're just chopping the top and bottom of the screen and giving yourself black bars, what the lens is actually doing is giving you more real estate on the width of your frame. But Nick, I could just put black bars at the top and bottom of my screen and get exactly the same result, right? Well, no. And while it's not immediately obvious, there are some differences in the picture that you can't replicate by simply putting black bars on an image. The most obvious being, you lose resolution at the top and bottom of the screen, which is no good. Another characteristic are the streaky lens flares, which are very iconic, and you've seen in movies from Michael Bay and J.J. Abrams. Not only that, the bokeh is obviously a little bit more oval. On a more psychological level, anamorphic is something that is built in to the way that we watch movies as a whole. We don't know what it is that makes a movie feel like a movie, but anamorphic has something to do with it. So we have 3 focal lengths. We have the 35, the 50, and the 24. And they do vary slightly, obviously, not just in the focal lengths, but in characteristics as well. The other thing you have to know too is these lenses are all designed for an APS-C sensor, or a Super 35 sensor, which means if you have a full frame camera like the A7S III, the lens is not going to cover the full sensor, which unfortunately gives you the dreaded porthole look. Now, don't get me wrong, there are always hacks around these things, but if your camera is a full frame camera, these lenses are not made for you. In fact, I was considering getting an FX3 till I realized that when they crop in on the sensor, it actually drops the resolution down from 4K to HD, which is terrible. So the 35, we'll just start with that. It's a 1.8. It's probably the one that I like the most in terms of it's the most versatile one that I can use, but obviously it's nice to have a few more tools in your tool bag. So if there was only one of these lenses I would get, it would be the 35, because I feel like that can do the most. It's got a shallow depth of field, which is really nice, the 1.8. And if you have the clear view option on something like a Sony camera, you can actually turn this into a 50. The 24 at f2.8 means that everything is more in focus, so you're not going to get that really shallow depth of field that you do get in the 35 and the 50. The image is razor sharp in this image, so just be aware if you're not looking for a very sharp image, the 24 is not the one for you. It doesn't have the warmest quality about it, but it does have its use, and if you do need a wider lens, this is definitely the lens to use. Now the 50 coming in at an f1.8 means you can also get some nice depth of field, and in my opinion has the biggest bokeh as well. This lens does have a nice warm quality about it. I did get some really nice shots in the street on my first couple of days, and the results were surprising, but you do have to stand back pretty far to get a shot that you would like because of the minimum focal distance. And yes, if you do put these lenses on, you will get the anamorphic flares. Yes, those flares that you see in all the J.J. Abrams movies, the Michael Bay movies, they are in these lenses and they do look pretty good. I'm not really a big fan of these kind of flares, but they do exist. It doesn't really mean much to me, but you guys wanted to see it, so here's what it looks like. Here's a few tests of what it looks like. Likewise, the bokeh is a little bit different sized as well. You're going to get this sort of oval bokeh as opposed to circular bokeh, which you see in a lot of spherical lenses. Because this is anamorphic, it's going to be slightly taller. Anyway, you didn't come here to hear me talk, you wanted to see some beautiful bokeh. So one of the more interesting things about these lenses is actually the price. Now, if we go to B&H Photo, you can kind of see here that the Sirui 35mm is $799, the 50mm is just under $700, and the 24 is just under $1,000. That's a pretty cheap price for anamorphic lenses, because the next step up is the Vazen, and they're almost 3 times the price of these lenses at the same focal lengths. And if we're going to go for proper anamorphics, and we're talking about the ones that they use in the movies as we speak, look at this one. This is a Cooke lens. This is something that Peter Jackson loved using when he films his Lord of the Rings movies. $34,000. For the price of one Cooke lens, you can get 43 50mm Sirui lenses. That's how cheap these lenses are, and it is crazy that they are coming in at this price. For the kind of images that you're getting and the fact that it's anamorphic is pretty impressive.
Quick tip, if you are outside and you forget to bring your ND filter, or you don't have one because you've ordered it and it hasn't come yet, you can just throw your sunglasses in front of the lens and it kind of does the trick.
As you can see here on the 24 and the 35, there is a little bit of vignetting or slightly darker edges on the edge of the frame, for those who don't know what that means. You might want to crop in just a touch if that really bothers you, but I kind of like it because I usually vignette my stuff anyway. It kind of comes with the characteristics of the camera, and I kind of like some of these little things. There is a little bit of chromatic aberration too on the edges if you are looking for that thing. But for the most part, most of these lenses are pretty sharp. In fact, the 24 is actually really sharp when it's wide open, and it's really surprising actually, provided you actually get your subject in focus, which I kind of failed to do a couple of times. That's more to do with my camera skills, not to do so much with the lens. You can totally focus on these lenses really well, but you do need to be good at it, because if you're not good at it like me, things will be out of focus, and you just have to say that it's artistic, right? The color reproduction was a little bit different between the 50 and the 35 and the 24. Actually, the 50 looked a little bit colder than the 35 and the 24. So it's just something to think about. It's not a deal breaker in any way, but because the lenses will always look different no matter what lens you pick. That's something I've always kind of been fascinated by, is that, you know, different lenses, even if you set them at the same temperature, will always interpret the light a little bit differently. Even the Sigma lens that I'm shooting with will interpret the light a little bit differently to the 24, 35, and the 50 itself. And guys, do me a favor, click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be informed of when we drop some hot knowledge on this channel. Now, the build itself is pretty good. The construction of these lenses is pretty hefty. I gotta admit, when I got one for the first time, I was actually surprised by how weighty these lenses feel. I'm shooting this video right now on a Sigma 16mm, and it is not nearly as heavy as these Sirui lenses are. Like, these things, they have a bit of heft to them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how to describe it, but this is pretty hefty. This is just under a kilo. Probably around, I think it's around 700 grams. The tension on the focus and iris rings feels pretty good. Like, it doesn't feel like cheap construction. Although the focus on the 50mm does feel a little bit tight, but I like how it feels on the 24 and 35. So maybe, hopefully in the future, Sirui can fix that issue on the 50. You do get some plastic teeth that you can kind of throw onto the, let me this focuses up, onto the 35, but they're the only one, the 35 is the only one that comes with these teeth. but the rest of them, they didn't manufacture them, which is kind of sad. I kind of like that there's teeth on the 35, but everybody else doesn't get those fancy teeth. Now you got to understand too, with these lenses, they are all completely manual. There is no auto function whatsoever. So no matter what camera you shoot this with, it will not be able to engage any of the auto functions that you love in all your cameras. So probably not suited for like vloggers or that kind of thing where you have to you obviously rely on your auto iris and auto focus to basically get the shot that you need. You do have to ride this thing to get the best that you want out of this picture, and that's something you do have to consider when you do get these lenses. But if you are very familiar with like primes, these are great primes. Now you can order this in a series of mounts. On the 50, you can actually get this in an E mount, an MFT mount, or an X mount. So you may need a converter if you want to use it as an EF mount. Likewise with the 24, you can get it at a Canon EF, Fujifilm X, MFT, Nikon, or Sony E mount. But the interesting thing is with the Sirui 35mm, it only comes in an MFT mount or micro 4/3 mount. Now I don't know why that was the case, but in order for you to actually use this, I had to order an extra part, which is this Sirui mount adapter for the 35. Basically this converts it to whatever mount you need it to be. It can convert it to the EF as Nikon or a Sony E. It's just a strange design, but anyway, that's how they've gone around and done it. So just if you do order the 35, just remember to order one of these as well. By the way, this is not a plug for B&H. I just like their store and I do shop from them quite frequently. And of course, we're going to talk about some cons. Obviously, at this price point, there's no way these lenses are going to be perfect, or are they? Anyway, we should talk about some of the things I did notice about these lenses when I did try them out. So one of the things is there's definitely bowing in the 24. It's a wide angle lens. There's definitely some bowing around the edges, as you can see here on this balcony shot. It's not straight. It's definitely a bow, but that's fine. That's a characteristic of the lens you might have to take care of. You can definitely fix that in post if you want to, basically using a lens undistort filter. It's pretty straightforward to do, but it's just something to keep aware of, especially when you're doing composites. You might want those straight lines. Just realize when you shoot on the 24, this is going to be a bit of bending around the edges. Not really surprising. You will pay a premium for getting those straight lines in anamorphics. I imagine that's probably why the Cooke lens is probably more expensive than this lens. So the minimum distance you have to place your subject before it becomes in focus is pretty far. Now, I noticed it's about 30 inches on the 35 and on the 50, and about 20 inches on the 24. So there's no way you can get anything in focus within those ranges themselves. You can fix this, as I've seen on YouTube, by using a diopter, but if you don't have those, that's just something you got to think about. You're not going to be able to get things nice and tight and close. Look how close I can get. I can get really close with this lens. I can't get anywhere close. I'd be sitting at least this far away, I think, to get the same sort of, the same sort of look. But you can't get it. It's not. You don't want it. You're not going to get it with these lenses. It's just you're just going to have to factor that in. I definitely don't feel like this is suited for, like I've mentioned before, this is definitely not stuff for run and gun shooting. If you're going to use this as vlogging lenses, I definitely don't suggest it. But if you do, I mean, just think about it. You're going to be focusing all the time. And you're going to have to ride that iris all the time if you want to get the shots that you want to get. But it is great for things like production, filmmaking, music videos. I think this is where it kind of really shines, because it is, the characteristics of this lens is super interesting. And I think it definitely gives you a more filmic look than what I would say this lens does, or, general primes that you do have in this range. So what do I think about these lenses? Well, look, I shot with them for about a week. I really had a good time shooting with them. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed just going outside, just shooting random stuff. And it's been a while. It's been a while since I've had this much fun shooting with lenses, shooting anything in general. Just dropping a camera, seeing what I would get, just enjoying the moment while I captured the shot. I think the biggest downside of these lenses is the fact that it doesn't cover a full frame sensor, so you'll never be able to take advantage of full frame cameras using these lenses. Plus, if you're not used to a completely manual workflow, you're gonna have a hard time working with no auto functions. But that being said, I cannot actually wait to start shooting a short film with these as soon as I get my script ready. But to be honest, there's something about these lenses that is really unique. It has a warm feel about them. it's triggering all the right things in my mind to just say, hey, this looks like a movie. And for whatever reason, I think for the price you're paying for these lenses, they're pretty amazing. Well, that is it, guys. Thanks for watching the review. And if there is only one lens that you would buy out of these 3 lenses, which one would it be? Would it be the 24, the 35, or the 50? Comment below, let us know. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.